Obi's such a key part of this group and what we're about. From the moment he stepped foot in the building, how he led by example. But not only leading by example, he's grown as a leader on this team, and it wasn't just with his on-field play. He's become more comfortable using his voice in the right moments. So we're really happy about the extension and the new contract, and he's been key in everything we've done and the success we've had. So this is a good day for Obi and for our club.
He said yesterday he still feels fresh, like he's still new to the club, even though he's been here for so long, and there's another level for him to go to. What do you envision is next for him in terms of his growth?
Yeah, good question, because, this is year 4, and you're always looking at ways to improve and push guys. Yeah, he looks fresh. I think that's kind of who he is. Every time he steps on the field for training, for games, he gives everything. And, I think maybe this particular moment and stretch is he's coming off of injuries, and so when he's back on the field, he doesn't have the games, from the last month. So he looks fresh, and he looks explosive, and so it's nice to see that again. But I also think it's a new group, different energy. Every year you're having change in your roster, and so that keeps it fresh at times too. New relationships being formed, and so I think that factors into it. But Obi's hungry to help our club win trophies, and so that's, I think, what's always going to keep him fresh.
Contract stuff can sometimes be a distraction. He said he kind of just stays out of it until the very end. I'm curious, when you see players going through that, and maybe from your own experience as a player, once they get that contract done, is there anything different you notice, just a weight kind of lifted off a player, knowing they've got that security?
That depends on the player. With Obi, I don't worry, because he's always focused on playing. And like he said, he lets other people worry about the contract stuff so he can do his job. So I have no concern about this particular case.
And then as far as Hell is Real, a lot of new faces on both sides of the rivalry. Do you go through like a history lesson, geography, signage, like just to kind of explain I know some guys might not even know what it means, Hell is Real, like, do you talk about that?
In this particular case, it's always about informing. I think I say this every time, new players to, what the rivalry looks like and means. And so we have some new faces that need to be educated on it, and really just understanding they might not feel the rivalry the same way some of their teammates do. And it's always about fans, the club. It feels different. It means something. So it's our job to let them know about that. And this is a little unique just because we don't focus on, our next opponent until we finished our last one. So this is the first 2 days that we're talking about Columbus, and you try to get them up to speed in a short amount of time as to what the game means and what it can look like. So that conversation has started. That'll continue, up until kickoff. But, I think guys are excited for the challenge, and hopefully fully understand of what it means to represent our club in this game.
Two teams at the top of the table. I mean, it's been a competitive, just both teams have been competitive the last few years. How good is this rivalry? How much does that help, just that you guys are always competing at the top?
I'll let others weigh in on what it looks like and how it ranks, but for me, I just look at the matchup tomorrow, and what are some of the similarities in previous matchups. But I think the fact that both clubs have been successful over the last couple of years helps. I think it's two good teams that have a mutual respect for each other. I think at times you can see a a real hatred and rivalries. But when you watch this game played out in the past couple of years, I think there's a good intensity, but not a reckless intensity a lot of times. Good play on the field, and certainly they have a very strong team, and they can control the ball in a way that moves teams around and makes you have to defend for longer stretches. So there's less duels, and so I think you see a more fluid game a lot of times between the two teams, and maybe that doesn't always look like what a rivalry game does. But yeah, we could talk about the tactics. You have to understand the intensity in duels as well, and competing all the time. So that'll certainly play its part. But I just think it's two good teams that have had good good games in the past years.
You just mentioned you may look for some similarities, and then talked about what they do well. But it's a bit of a new group for Columbus this time compared to the last time you saw, particularly one big player in Cucho not being there, but changes on both sides. What is it that Columbus is doing this year that you're seeing that is of most interest to you?
I think they're always showing new ideas, especially with the ball. I think defensively there's been consistency in their structure for years as far as how they defend the ball. On that side, they're very good counter-pressing because they're able to pin teams in, and they're very good at going to the ball. And I think when they're having to defend deeper, it's a similar structure as far as the organization of it and stepping to the ball. But with the ball, they have variety. They have different structure setups from goal kicks and how they're using obviously your center backs, your deeper midfielders. So you got to be alert, and you got to be prepared for different things. And I've heard Wilfred say with teams that are more man-to-man oriented, having guys not having positions because you're trying to break man-for-man press, and so that's interesting because you have to understand how to deal with players moving out of position. And for the teams that do that, all of a sudden maybe your winger is playing as a holding midfielder or tracking like a holding midfielder. So I think they're very creative in how they can pull you out of your defensive structure. And so those are typically a lot of the talking points when you talk about how you have to defend a very talented team, a technical team, good in combinations, but also good at moving off the ball.
This match is coming off of a midweek game. It's a short turnaround. You've talked about the nuances that go into that. Where do you feel like your group is heading into this weekend coming off of Wednesday?
I think in a good way. I know, if you're just looking at the last two results, the guys certainly have confidence because we've won the last two games, but we've utilized a lot of bodies over the last two games to try to stay fresh, but also felt confident that whoever was starting in those first two games would help inform us as to how do we be fresh and how do we be strong going into this game. So, obviously we could have been a lot better with the ball as far as the Toronto game specifically, but I think we defended well in that game, and we just need to have a better balance, so that our on-the-ball decision-making and composure allows us to be connected in our attack and be more connected, when we lose the ball.
I was curious about Corey Bayard, just, with the rotation, he still isn't seeing the field much.
Yeah.
What do you need to see from him, and has his role kind of changed with this team?
Corey's been excellent. These are tough decisions as a coach because we have a very deep roster and a deep attack. And so when we're healthy, we have tough decisions to make, and Corey puts his head down and works the right way every day. I've trusted him. We've trusted him in a lot of ways, even when the starts haven't been there. Playing as a forward, playing as an attacking mid, as an attacking wingback. So it's because I trust him, but that doesn't always reward the player with with more minutes, because I think we have a lot of options, and that can be challenging for guys that have experience that have contributed in the past.
How's Matt and Luca doing?
Good, available.
Was Luca, because he's had that leg issue, is that the same kind of thing? Just
We
kinda
got it
managing?
imaged, and it came back in a positive way, which I think mentally probably helped him. But it's just the strengthening aspect of his routine that we're going to focus on, so that maybe it takes away from some of the discomfort that he's experiencing.